Good morning, class. My name is Mr. Raisler. Our objective for today is to record several videos, put them together, and perform a book review. The book review is going to be done. So in chapter 1, we find out that a murder has been announced. Several of the characters in chapter 2's summary, another character is introduced, Miss Blacklock, as well as in chapter 3, most everyone has heard that a murder is announced, and everyone plans to gather at Mrs. Blacklock's house at 6:30 p.m., which is the exact time when the murder will take place. The final line. In chapter 4's summary, I made a list of everyone who is in the room at the exact time at 6:30. Several names are listed here, and I have underlined the names. I made a list of everyone who is introduced in the book, and I underlined the names who are there in the room at the time of the murder. In this summary, I also guessed who did it. My guess was Mrs. Harmon. In chapters 5 through 7 summaries, I combined these three because many of the events that take place are similar. We're introduced to the constable and the detective. Now, both are trying to figure out. In chapter 8's summary, we're introduced to the one and only, the famous Miss Marple. I know nothing about Miss Marple since I skimmed the story. In chapter 9's summary, we see the detectives take a particular interest in one of the characters, Mitzi. Good motive. Money is always a very good motivator, unfortunately, and in the case of this story by Agatha Christie, it may or may not be the reason that Mr. Schurz is murdered. In the chapters 11 through 13 summary, I am going to keep this relatively short and sweet. The title of it is Developing Conversations and Events. In chapter 14 summary, it's entitled Excursion into the Past, and I'm going to read just a small excerpt from this chapter. I'm afraid there's nothing of that kind. All her personal papers and things were stored with their furniture. In chapter 15 summary, some of the women talk about a certain cake called Delicious Death. One of the characters, Mitzi, makes the cake. In chapter 16 summary, we finally find out who our killer is. But before we find out, I'd like to run through